All right. I have an hour, 1 hour. I realize everybody here is in 10th grade, right? Grade 10? Raise your hand if you're not in grade 10. It's okay. All right. I realize that I am the last thing from you going home, playing, having fun, having dinner, doing whatever else. So I will try to keep this brief and concise, okay? Don't worry, I'll eventually get back to the board. I just have a few rules here. If I speak too fast, if you don't understand, just raise your hand. I'll repeat myself, right? Any question, there are no stupid questions, right? If you have a question, just ask me, right? If you have a question, just ask me. Keep your questions respectful. And then lastly, I understand it's past 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock. If you are tired, if you are sleepy, if you have sleepy eyes, just stand up. Okay, it's okay for me, right? Don't fall asleep on me. If you fall asleep on me, we're gonna have a moment, okay? Who's that man in the center? Anybody know? Who? Obama, are you sure? I think somebody told me it was Donald Trump last time. I have a trick question. You get a special prize, right? A long time ago, I used to be responsible for all of Obama's security when he traveled overseas, right? Obama has had the pleasure of coming to Vietnam, Biden, Trump, so forth, right? If you were to guess, President Obama or the American president, when they travel overseas to a foreign country, how big is their security? Take a guess. How many?
I'll say around 50 all time.
50. Anyone think more than 50? How many?
I guess 2,000.
2,000. That's a lot of money. Any more than 2,000? Any more than 2,000? All right, raise your hand if you think less than 100. Raise your hand. If you think less than 2,000, raise your hand. If you think more than 2,000, raise your hand. Parents, teachers, any guesses? The American president, when he travels overseas, he travels with 10,000 security people. And that's who I used to be responsible for. This picture was taken in India. It's okay. All right. There's 3 things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about my life, and I'm going to talk about more as it pertains to you, okay? 3 things I want you to get out of today, right? First, number 1, sorry, camera's in my face. You can be anything you want to be. You just can't be everything. You can be anything you want to be. You just can't be everything. Young lady, what did I just say? It's okay, just repeat. What do you think? Just say it again. To be. You just can't what? Everything. Do you guys hear that? You can be anything you want to be. You just cannot be everything, right? We're limited by time, right? Next thing I'm going to try to convince you in my speech today, right, is talent. Everybody here has a talent. Everybody here has a talent. Talent times effort equals skill. Repeat after me, everybody, everyone. Talent times effort equals skill. Say it. Talent times effort equals skill. Okay? The next part to this, skill times effort equals achievement. Skill times effort equals achievement. Say it. Skill times effort equals achievement. So listen to this. Talent times effort equals a skill. Effort once. A skill times effort, the second time, equals achievement. I say that to you is because effort counts twice. Effort matters more than what? Skills and talents. Effort matters more than what? What's the first first word. It starts with a T. Talent. It's okay. Good shot. Don't worry. Right? Effort matters more than talent. Remember that. And my last thing that I hope you learn from today, right? My last thing. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to change yourself, right? Those three things. Sorry, I keep forgetting this thing. Sorry. You'll have to excuse me, I normally don't read. I generally have everything rehearsed, but I am going to read from this because it is important. So this is a little story about myself. I'll get to what's on the page on board, and then we'll talk about the rest of today. So please listen, all right? This is the only part I ask you to listen. So as a child, I had many dreams. From playing in the National Football League, right, to climbing Mount Everest, to wanting to go to space. I wanted to be an astronaut, right? I had many silly dreams. I must admit, many of those ideas were quite fancy and silly. But on the morning of September 11, 2001, how many of you were born before September 11, 2001? 0, hopefully, right? As I was walking to my chemistry class in high school, the news of the attack on the World Trade Center happened, right? That moment, I witnessed the Twin Towers collapse, and nearly 3,000 individuals lost their lives. That's a lot of people. I realized my mission was to serve my country, and over the next 15 years, I fought in 2 armed conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've advised and assisted over a dozen countries with their security policies and strengthening their security, right? From leading teammates on the battlefield to helping rebuild war-torn villages in Afghanistan. What did I learn? I learned to work with a lot of people to problem solve, right, and to help improve their lives. After leaving the military in about 2016, I decided to pursue graduate studies, right? So I left the military after 10 years. Having spent many years in a career in the US government, I realized that I didn't have the technical, analytical skills that you all do to pursue things like a STEM career, right? And because of that, I chose to pursue a master's in business. I focused a lot on entrepreneurship, on finance, right? And that's what led me eventually to my next career path, working in investment banking in Wall Street. During my time on Wall Street, I worked with small, large companies, helping them raise, build capital, buy, and then ultimately grow, right? Capitalize on opportunities that companies want to do. Here I learned to work with people from various industries, this time to identify, evaluate, buy, and grow their companies, right? Ultimately, make money. As our soon-to-be graduate and other guest speaker will soon be doing in investment banking. It didn't take long for me to realize that I didn't want to pursue a career in finance. Nothing wrong with finance. In fact, some of you will go to finance, and that'll be okay, right? I learned a lot of useful skills. Ultimately, for me, my personal reflection was that was not my purpose. We're going to talk about purpose, right? My purpose was to help people, right? To work with people, to help people. So eventually, I returned to Vietnam. Believe it or not, I am Vietnamese, right? Vietnam, Southeast Asia, where I worked with top educators across various fields to help students prepare for future success. Now, I'm not an actual teacher, right? In the traditional sense, you look scared. Don't be scared. I'm not a traditional teacher, but I've had the opportunity to recruit, build, work with a lot of high-level teachers, right, to transform education, to improve people that matter to me, right, which is the group of you in front of me, believe it or not. Why do I share all this? I share my story because of these rings here. Life consists of many chapters. I'm going to ask you, just raise a hand. How many of you think when you finish college, will go into business? Will become businessmen, businesswomen? Any business people in here? No business? No one likes money? How many of you want to become doctors? Also no doctors. Any engineers? Computer programmers? How many of you want to become YouTubers and influencers? I see some hands. How many of you want to be gamers? yours. That's okay too. I don't judge you. I support that, right? Look, now I have interest. I share all this ultimately is what? You right now, I'm trying to remember, right? I'm trying to remember. Do I have to use this? Anh cần dùng cái này không? Không, okay. Don't. Okay. I say this, right? My voice is just as loud without this. Is because you think your life, right? You think your life is one destination. That's not the case. I mean, I've done many things. Not that I've done them all well, but our life comes in many different stages, right? And so my point is, have a plan, but be ready to adapt, right? My second point, my gentleman here, what does my second point say? You can read it out loud. Actually, I'm going to give you the mic.
Figuring out.
It's okay, I'll hold it for you. Just talk, just talk, just talk, because your friends need to hear you.
Part of figuring out who you are is figuring out who you are.
Keep reading. Yeah, the whole thing.
If you don't know yet, know what your purpose is, continue to explore for knowledge and use event in yourself.
Give him an applause. That was good reading, right? Thank you. Don't be scared, right? I mean that, right? Part of figuring out yourself is figuring out who you are not. Because once you figure out who you're not, you should stop doing it. It's like dating. How many of you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Why are you guys all giggling like you guys don't have a boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend, miss? Or girlfriend? None, okay. But as you will learn, dating, when you figure out what you don't like, what should you do? Stop doing it, right? Remember that. Boys, same thing. Looking at all you gentlemen. Last thing, like I said, right? I'm a man of many careers, right? I'm starting my fourth now. It's never too late to reinvent yourself, all right? All right, let's move on with the rest of this. Keep messing this up. All right, before I get into this, I just need you to be somewhat honest with me, right? So the rest of today, my purpose here is to help you find your interest, or to give you a plan to find your interest, right? Or passion, dame as you call it, right? Other than that, I want to help you understand the environment that you're stepping into. You're all grade 10 students. How old are you, son? 16. We're all 16. Do I have any 17 years old? Any 15? It's okay. All right. Look, I'm going to frame this as if the best way, if I were your age, what would I want to know? So part of figuring out what you want to do first is to understand the environment, right? I want you to understand the environment that you're going to step into, not tomorrow, not next year, not 5 years from now, but 10 years from now. Because about 10 years from now, you're going to be 3 years into your job, correct? High school, you got about maybe 3 more years. College, you got 4 more years, and then you go straight into your first job. Agree? Everybody good with my math? Right? So I want you to understand the environment you're going to do. Next, for some of you who understand or don't understand what you want to do, it's okay. Can I just ask my students in the back on their phones, right? I'm asking you this. You don't have to tell me what you want to do, but how many of you actually think you know what you want to do? Just raise your hand. How many of you are confident you know what you want to study in college? So how many of you are not confident you know what you want to study in college? A few more hands. Okay. It's okay to raise, not raise your hands. That's okay. I'm going to tell you right now, in the American college, in the US, and in Canada, right? People change their majors 50% of the time. So you pick a major, what you want to study, and they change it 50% of the time. Is that a lot or a little? That's a lot, right? Because don't you hope that if you go to college, that you pick the one you want to love, and then you just stay with it? Is that what that's what you would prefer, right? Right? Right. All right. So the purpose of today is to help you navigate that. Because the sooner you figure that out today, the sooner you can devote your time. Understand? All right. Just by thought process, how many of you think you will go to college in Vietnam? That's okay too. Vietnam has great colleges. How many of you think you will go to the US? to go to the US? How many of you think you will go to Canada? Australia? Good job, okay. Japan? Korea? Yeah, I need you to scoot that so I can talk. My man, where do you think you'll go to college?
I think
Vietnam? Okay, that's a good school. My man next to him, hiding.
I think it is Vietnam.
Vietnam. My lady, where do you think you'll go to school? Just guess, nothing's wrong. Anything.
Maybe Vietnam or Australia.
Okay, my friend over there hiding, where do you think you'll go to school? Vietnam, okay, and that's okay. I'm going to explain today because as I understand it, this high school, about 1/3 of you, right, may seek opportunities to study abroad, right? Là kiểu 1/3 học sinh ở đây sẽ đi du học, right? So I'm going to explain today in a little bit. Look, heads looked up when I speak a little Vietnamese. All right, I'm going to spend a little bit of time today explaining about the college landscape so that you understand it, all right? Tough crowd. All right, these are the 4 most popular majors. My man over here, read them, all 4. Just the titles.
Business studies, engineering, math-related, computer science.
Good job. Everybody give them a round of applause. All right. What do universities look for? All right, again, I'm going to spend the first part of my speech here talking about the environment. Next, I'm going to talk to you a prescription. Because if I were you, a grade 10 student, I would want to know what people are looking for. Right? So right here, this right here at the bottom left, for my data science people, for my people who are deeply interested in fact-finding, it comes from the NACAC, right? If you're a teacher or a principal, you may want to look it up. It stands for the National Association of College Admissions Counseling. They are the governing body that basically collects evidence or information on what universities care about. Admittedly, this is focused on the US market. The US market being the most toughest market, right? But for my students here, if you understand this market, you will be prepared to apply to whatever school system, whether England, the UK, Canada, Australia, so forth. This is why I'm picking this one, right? You don't need to understand the rest. There's a lot of numbers on there. But basically circled in red, you will see that the most important things that schools care about, number 1 and 2, are grades and your test scores, right? Your test scores being TOEFL, IELTS, SAT, whatever, right? Circled in blue, it is telling you that the next most important things are your extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities in Vietnamese is what? Right? So those are your extracurricular activities and whatever you do in the summer. So it's telling you what's the most important, first 2 most important things again. Anybody here? What's the most important thing? Grades. What's the next most important thing? Test scores. What's the last most important thing?
What? Test?
I already said test scores. Grades, test scores, what's number 3? Your extracurricular activities, right? 10th graders, I'm about to show you why this is important, right? To all of you, I'm trying to help you because I'm trying to help you build a better life. Please believe me. All right. So this is a snapshot. You don't really need to care, but I'm showing you what the US, the UK, the Australian, what their different application requirements are. After this, I appreciate you taking a picture, but I will make sure the slides get sent out to you so you can look at it more carefully, right? You don't need to worry so much about this. This right here is a quick plug. So the environment. How many of you like tests? How many of you don't like tests? Oh, now I see a lot of hands. So you don't want to answer my questions, but if you don't like tests, raise your hands. Okay, good. All right. How many of you are taking the IELTS or practicing? How many of you doing TOEFL? How many are you preparing for the SAT? All right, lots of that. I mean, that just tells me where you're going. All important. What do other colleges want? So, I used to be an admissions officer for a school called UPenn, right? The University of Pennsylvania, which is one of the 8 Ivy Leagues. So I'm going to tell you what we look for when we look at students, right? And you as a grade 10 student in Vietnam, high school begins at what grade? In Vietnam, what grade does stuff begin at? My man who's smiling. What grade does high school begin in Vietnam? The grade you are in. What is it? Good job. All right. In the rest of the world, do you know what grade high school begins? 9. Who said that? Good job. You get a fist pound too. There you go. Don't be afraid. All right. So, in the rest of the world, high school begins at grade 9. Why does this matter? When you apply for college, doesn't matter where you apply, you will enter everything from starting from what grade? Grade what?
Nothing.
Try it. Just try it. Nothing's wrong. What grade? No! I don't care what you did in first grade. Grade 9. Good job. All right. So, again, students, repeat after me so that you're not surprised. When you apply for college, what grade do we start counting? Grade 9, right? You're on the clock. How many more years before you have to apply for college? 2. You have grade 10 and you have grade 11. At the beginning of grade 12, you have to apply. So do you have a lot of time? Not a lot. You can do 13th grade, I don't suggest it. All right, I'm telling you this is because you're on the clock, all right? All right, I'm gonna speed through this. I'm gonna try to convince you what a demonstrated interest is, all right? Can anybody tell me who's on the left? Who is it? Elon Musk? I've never heard that. Elon Musk. Who's my next person? Who's the lady? Hillary Clinton. Who's the third person? If anybody knows the third person, you'll get a special gift from me. Does anybody know number 3? You guys don't know him. He's very famous in the US, right? He's an author. He's an author. He won the Pulitzer Prize. The Pulitzer Prize is given to the best English-based book, right? And not only is this special because he is a first-time author, meaning he won the prize with his first book, right? You should be proud of him, right? Very good man. We can do more than Vietnamese, right? All right, and the last person we obviously know. The reason why I bring this up is because what do colleges and universities look for? I'm trying to help you. I know we didn't get a lot of response, right? My gentleman right there. I know we didn't get a lot of response, but I do know that you all are very, 1, talented, 2, interested in something, right? You are talented and you're interested in something. And someday you have to connect it to a potential job, right? How many of you, look at me, how many of you want to get paid to do something you love? All of you should raise your hand, right? You want to get paid doing something you love, agreed? So, and college is what? College is just the middle layer, right? To help you to get to do what you love, right? Now, to dial it back, what am I talking about when I'm talking about an application spike or a demonstrated interest? Colleges, universities, and it doesn't matter where, are looking for the best students in each of those majors. If you want to be a business student, right? They're looking for the best business students out of high school. If you want to be a doctor, they're looking for the best doctors out of high school. Same thing for computer science. Same thing for art. Same thing for music. Do we understand that? That's agreed. Because why? Eventually, colleges and universities, do they want to produce average students, or do they want to produce those students? What do we think? Do we want to produce average students or above average? Above average, not a trick question, right? Thank you, I appreciate that. You don't understand? Can you translate for him? This right here, right? And also for my teachers and faculty. When I advise students, when I look at like helping students set a plan, build goals, right, and prepare for college, I just use this. You can just use this, take a picture, and it's your roadmap for the rest of your 4 years. If you look at the top, right, my lady over here, can you help me? Next to year, you see grade 9, grade 12. Across the top, there's 4 things. What does it say?
This academic goals, standardized testing, and extracurricular activity and summer program.
Very good. That deserves an applause. That was very good. Thank you, Ron. All right. And so when I do this, when I talk about helping students make a plan, make a roadmap, right, and set goals, it's only in those 4 things. Why? Because me as an admissions officer, I can only judge you on those 4 things, right? Academic classes, you're all in high school. Some of you are math majors or specialized math tracks. Some of you are physics tracks. Some of you are biology tracks. Whatever tracks you are, right? Those are your academic classes. I can't change that. But even going to a public school, you can do things like advanced placement, right? AP classes. AP classes come from where? They come from the US, right? The United States. You can take those classes. You can self-study. Go to Khan Academy. How many of you know a Khan Academy? Some of you definitely know Khan Academy, right? It's free, it's online. You can study for free. You can take the test, build your classes. Next thing, after academic classes is what? What's next to academic classes? Standardized testing.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So for those of you, 10th grade, normally I prefer my 10th graders. Please listen here. This is important. Whether you are going to school overseas, and even now, Vietnam universities accept the IELTS, the TOEFL, and the SAT, right? Do yourself the favor. Take the IELTS or the TOEFL early, right? Study for it early. Boys, I know you over here, like you look like you're a bunch of football players and nothing else, right? Why are my girls over here laughing? All right, but I understand that, that's okay. But boys and girls, do yourself this favor. It's a small requirement. It is not fun, but you have to do it, right? You finish the IELTS early, you finish the SAT, and then you can move on to what? You can move on to SAT, and then you can take care of other things, right? Testing is not fun. I don't like testing, but I encourage you to do it soon. Why? So you can do other things. Make sense? So the first 2 things on the left is what I call the science of goal setting, right? The right two things is what I call the art, right? This is what you get to choose, your extracurricular activities, right? And so you'll see there on the right side, extracurricular activities, grade 9, grade 10, do 3 to 5 things. And then grade 11, grade 12, do less. Do you know why I want you to do less in grade 11 and grade 12? It's because in the first 2 grades, I want you to explore. I want you to try many things. I want you to try many clubs, many sports, many arts, many music, many programming, gaming, whatever, right? But grade 11 and 12, I want you to specialize. I want you to become captains of your football team. I don't care. I want you to become presidents of your, like, fundraising club or your community service, right? So I want you to explore in the beginning, do less later on. These are some examples, right? I'm just gonna quickly go through this because I think my time is limited, right? These are, feel free to take pictures, but again, I'm gonna make sure these slides get out to you. These are examples of my past students. This particular student got into UC Berkeley, Haas School, the #2 business school in all of the US. less, right? As an example, and the reason why I bring this up, right, this demonstrated interest. What is a demonstrated interest? Somebody who's studying business, what kind of subjects do you think they should study if they want to specialize in business? What's the first subject? Math. What's the next subject? Biology? Possible. Normally not what I would pick, but math. What else? What? English. Why? That's a smart answer. Very few people get that.
Because I think we have to communicate. We have to communicate with other businesses.
Excellent. English is a top one. What's number 3? What?
About my.
Psychology?
Yeah.
That's possible, right? The answer I'm looking for is economics. Ginte, right? So those 3 subjects. And then if you look at his activities, they're all about business. It's all about leadership. It's all about government, right? Next one, right? This is a science student, right? Look at their main courses. You see calculus, you see physics, you see computer science, right? Obviously top scores there, but again, I want you to focus on the right side. That's the art. Look at the activities, right? If somebody who wants to go study science, what should they specialize in? Another example, this is somebody who attended Johns Hopkins University for international relations. Again, don't worry so much about the left side. I want you to look at the right. Look at the activities. Debating, leadership, organization, right? I want you to pair your activities, right? And last but not least, this was a student who was a fine arts student. They went in to do performing arts, right? Again, performing arts, look at the activities, right? So I'm gonna do a test. Do I have, all right, you know, if you hide from me, I'm gonna pick you, right? All right, my lady, here's this trick question. For somebody who wants to become a doctor, pretend you want to become a doctor, right? Gentlemen, this is going to help you too, right? So that I unlock some thinking. If you want to become a doctor, like Baxi, right? Does your mom want you to become a doctor? Yeah. Of course, right? My mom wanted me to become a doctor. I didn't. I disappointed her, right? But besides, what kind of classes should you take to become a doctor?
I think it's biology.
Yep.
And chemistry.
Biology, chemistry. Agree? Right.
And
Math is good, or English? Now, so that's excellent. Now, let me ask you, why would somebody want to become a doctor? Actually, I'm gonna pick on your friend. Good job, you get a high five, all right? Friend, why would somebody want to become a doctor?
Doctors have high salary.
Because they want to make money? Is that why you guys think people want to become a doctor? Guys, you know how long it takes to become a doctor?
7 years.
A long time. You know, in the US, 4 years of college, 4 years of medicine school, 4 years of residency, right? And then if you want to become a surgeon, that's another 3 years. You know how long that is? That's a lot of debt. Nah, right? Absolutely not. All right, help her out. Why would somebody want to become a doctor?
I think they want to be help people.
Yes. I'm just kidding. You still did well. I appreciate you. You want to become a doctor because you want to help people. So why does that matter to all of you? Activities, right? Extracurricular activities. Right? What kind of activities would you pick? First, no, they're not going to the gym. Who said that? All right. They're going to do a lot of science labs. You need laboratory experience. But number 2, helping somebody. What things can a student do to help people? Community service, right? Agree? Once you figure out what you don't want to do, what should you do? Once you figure, so you try something, right? You try a new activity. You figure out you don't like it. What should you do?
I will stop it.
Correct. Good job. All right, that gets an applause. Well done. But before that, let me caveat that for my parents and my teachers, right? I want you to try anything and everything, but I want you to promise me when you try something, whether it's a club, community service, programming, art, you must do it for a year, 1 year. My boy over there with his phone, how long did I say you have to do an activity? How long? When I say that if you start an activity, how long should you do it? Any activity. You just picked it. You just tried it. Somebody help him. How long? 1 year, right? The reason for that is it builds a lot of other characters, right? The moment you don't like something doesn't mean you're not good at it. Is everything going to come easy? No, right? It's going to take time. 1 year, right? Next, we consolidate. So you might pick a sport, you might pick a music instrument, you might pick programming, you might pick gaming, right? Beginning in year, grade 10, grade 11, what do I want you to do? What's the number 2 thing? What's under explore? What's after explore?
Consolidate.
Right? Consolidate, do less, pick specific clubs, pick specific organizations, climb the ranks, become a vice president, become whatever it is you're going to become. And then obviously the last thing is deep dive. All right, here's an example, right? I'm going to fly through this so I can get to questions, right? This is an example of a student. You see that in the beginning, grade 9, cooking club, drama club, piano, sports, reading books, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Is there one story? No, but that's okay because they're also a child, right? I want them to explore. What did they do next? Founded a small business selling clothes and accessories. Joined a student-run social enterprise. Self-study, test, business summer camp. Why? Because they like business. And lastly, you see the transition, right? The continued build-up. Eventually went to Georgetown. Another example, this is a STEM example, right? You see again, lots of different activities in the beginning. Tried many things, math competitions, whatever, right? Eventually going on to do what, right? Founding an environmental club, leader of a basketball, like again, just deep diving into things they cared about. Another student that went on to a top school, I believe this is another Berkeley student. All right, key takeaways. I'm gonna take about 5 more minutes, right? And I'm gonna hand it over to you for questions. Anything you wanna ask me. All right, maximizing your profile. I told you in the beginning, right? 3 things I want you to understand. You can be anything you want to be. You can't be everything, right? Number 2, I talked to you about the importance of effort. And number 3, when I say reinvent yourself, what I really mean is start early, right? You guys are grade 10 students. When does school end this year? What month? Looking at you. When does school end this year? You're so excited for summer, I can tell you. You're like, when is school over? When's the last day of school? When is the last day of school this year? Probably May, right, good. All right, start early, right? Challenge yourself, evaluate your opportunities, and this. And then my last thing I want to talk about, my final thoughts. So I talked a lot, right? And if you don't remember anything, please just listen for the next few minutes, right? Master the basics. This is very important. Boys, how many of you play shooting games? Any of you play? You all play shooting games. I know you all do, right? What's that? Okay, that's okay, right? I come from the Special Forces, right? A long time ago. Right. I spent 5 years in the Special Forces. I used to jump out of planes and do all this crazy stuff. People think I did a lot of like James Bond stuff. Not the case. You know what makes us special? What's number 1?
Master the basics.
Master the basics. What I mean by this, students, math, science, language. Language meaning Vietnamese and English, right? You don't have to love it. You don't have to love it. Who loves English? Who loves math? A few hands. Who loves science? Okay. Whether you love it or not, it doesn't matter to me. But please, this is what I care most about. Do not let it become a weakness, right? If you are struggling with a grade, find help. Ask Ask help from your teachers, right? Do not let it become a weakness. Why? Because you should be proficient, right? In a world that becomes hyper AI, hyper artificial intelligence, right? Being well-rounded is important, right? It opens up doors. Next, make time to explore your interests. Learning does not just exist within your classroom walls, right? Again, as a 10th grader, when I was you, sitting in this seat, listening to an old man talk, I would feel the same way you do. I'm not offended, right? But I encourage you, if I could go back and do it again, right? If I could go back and do it again, I would make more use of my opportunities outside the classroom, right? Whether joining clubs or communities or anything else, right? Please do it for me. You have a lot to learn. Number 3 on this, conduct your own research, right? You see a lot of things on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, whatever your friends say, whatever your teachers say. Do your own research, right? The internet is vast. You deserve it to arm yourself. Last 3, I told you the importance of surrounding yourself with activities and starting early, right? Join communities, right? In English, we have this phrase, birds of a feather flock together. If you don't know what you want to do, a very simple example, do what your friends are doing. If your friend is going to a community service, if they are joining a math club, if they are going on a hike, if they are going to clean the streets or whatever it is, right? Join your friends. That is a community. If you don't know what to do, look at your friends, look at your teachers, look at your mentors, right? It'll open up opportunities. Volunteer for the small things. Why? So when I show these profiles to the profiles of my students to other students, people get kind of nervous. Why? Because there's like high test scores, right? There's a lot of like presidents, there's a lot of captains, there's a lot of like amazing achievements, right? It's scary. Is it scary? Very scary. My challenge to you is, again, you can be anything you want to be, but you got to start. And I promise you, you have to believe in the process. And if you start now, and you do the small things become what? Big things, right? If you join a community service, sorry my man, I'm gonna sit here, I'm a little tired. But if you join any club, you join any school, you join any event, research paper, don't care, right? Volunteer to do the small things. If there's a small task, doesn't matter what the task is, does not have to be fancy, right? Because if I'm the president, if I'm a captain, and I see you do the small things well, what am I gonna do next? I'm gonna give you more opportunities because I know that you are a good achiever. You're gonna take care of things, right? I know I can count on you. If I can count on you, I'm going to give you more responsibilities. I'm gonna give you more opportunities, right? And that goes to the last thing. When you take care of the small things, opportunities open up. All right? People don't just dream of becoming president of the debate club or president or captain of the football team, right? Or a physics Olympiad or a math Olympiad or any of those things. People don't just dream of those things, right? Small steps, and eventually when work, right? When work or preparation meets opportunity, what happens? Luck happens. That's what luck is, right? Luck doesn't just fall from the sky. Luck happens when you work hard and you meet an opportunity, all right? Well, that is it on my end. I'm gonna pause. I'm running a little bit late. I think I took 50 minutes, but I have 10 minutes. All right, so again, I wanna recap before I open up to questions. Talking about goal setting and planning, right? You can be anything you wanna be, you just can't be everything, right? And then with that, when I talk about talent times effort is what? It starts with an S.
Equals skill.
Skill! God dang, you are good. You are smart. Good job. Skill times effort equals what? Starts with an A. Achievement. Well done. My man, you get a high five. Well done. Give him a round of applause. That was good. All right, that was a good job. Last but not least, right, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. So I challenge you students, if I were you, you know the landscape. I gave you information, you'll get more. If you want more, just ask your teachers for it and eventually it'll get to me. But what questions do you have? Any Any questions? I don't care if it's about this or anything else. Don't be scared. I don't bite. Any questions? I'm going to force some questions. What questions are on your mind? How can I help you?
Me?
Yeah. You know what? Pick your friend. She just laughed at you. Yeah. Ask a question. Any question. Any question. Has to be a question, though. Microphone. Give her the microphone. I'm going to pick on a few more, so come up with a question.
How to become the president of the club?
What club?
I'm joining,
Master of ceremonies.
the master of ceremony.
You want to be a master of ceremony?
Yeah, it's one of my dreams.
Okay. I mean, you have very good communication, it seems like.
I don't really good at the communications or talking with people, but I'm confident when I'm talking,
In a big public setting?
Yeah.
Truthfully, that's a great question. I get terrified every time I have to speak in public. And I used to get terrified. How many of you, show of hands? All right, I need you to actually raise your hand so I understand. How many of you get nervous when you speak in public? All of you should raise your hand because it is the #1 fear. But I appreciate you asking the question. I think if you want to do things like MC and speak, one, you need to practice. The best way to practice, poetry. Do you know what poetry is? Poems?
Yeah.
Right. I hate poems. I'm sorry if there's any literature teachers in here. But I hate poetry. But poetry taught me public speaking. Because memorizing, reciting, and presenting on poetry, there's a lot of ways you have to speak, right? But I say begin with small things. Begin with small things in terms of, let's say your club, you have an event, or an event, whether you are giving directions to a small group or whether you're getting on stage, right? Ask if you can script. First, it's always easy to volunteer to write the script. Why? Because no one wants to write the script. So if you volunteer to write the script, you're already proven capable, right? Good script writers become good what? Speakers. So if you can volunteer there, I think eventually you'll have the opportunity to do the rest. And always practice it, right? Good question. All right, my lady over here. I'm gonna pick, all right, you three. You get to pick. Which one am I gonna pick? I'm gonna pick the lady with a beautiful smile. Ask a question. Any question. Or the one, three of you, decide a question. I'm gonna ask 2 more questions. And if you look away from me, I will pick you.
Like if you regret your choice.
Hey! Sorry.
So if you regret your choice in the past, so what would you do?
If I regret my choice in the past,
Yeah.
what would I do? I, like all of you, right? So I was born in '85, which makes me almost 40 years old, right? I come from a very traditional Asian family, a traditional Vietnamese family. And like you, when I was in school and in class, I put my face in the books and I never raised my hand, right? Asian Vietnamese students are terrified of raising their hand. Agree or disagree? Agree, right? And then plus it's because we're in an English environment, right? So I wish, going back to you, that I was always good at schoolwork, book, testing. But I never spent time connecting with different people, teachers, mentors, other friends. and I never spent time researching other things. I always put my head back in the test. And while I was lucky to find people to help pull me out, I wish I did more of it, right? Do not be like Asian people. When I work with Asian students, Vietnamese students, the one thing I have to help them is do not be afraid to be embarrassed, right? Do not be afraid to try and fail, right? I appreciate you asking a question, right? Because if you don't ask, right, you may not talk because you're scared, right? I may sound bad. My friends might make fun of me. I have an accent, right? Learning does not happen, especially language or sports, football, gaming, whatever. You don't learn unless you what? Starts with an F. Fail, right? You don't learn unless you fail. Fail often, fail quickly. But fail, when I say fail, fail intentionally. That means fail with a plan, meaning you had a plan, you took the risk, and you failed. Don't just fail randomly, fail deliberately. You'll learn, you'll be better. Make use of your opportunities. All right, I'm gonna use one more question before I hand this over. Who am I gonna pick? Thank you for eye contact. Your friend next to you who's not looking at me. My lady, what is your question? You will have a question. Come up with a question. Take the microphone. Discuss with your friends. You can help her out too. One question. Last question, and then I'm done. Come up with a question. You can talk. If the table has a question, you guys can decide together. Any question? Boys, help her out with a question. Any question, and then we can finish. Then ask your friends, what question do they have? If you boys want to help her out, you can take the mic. Hey, quiet down. Into the mic so I can hear you. Scholarship. All right. Important question. Talking about scholarships and financial aid. This is a very long topic discussion. All I'm going to tell you is this, right? Two things. One, scholarships and financial aid are different, right? Scholarship, học bổng, is based on your merit, what you do. What you do in school, what you do out of school, right? Financial aid is different, right? In Vietnamese, you call it hỗ trợ tài chính, right? That's based on your family, right? You don't control that, right? Now, eventually, this is a long discussion. It is based on where you apply to school, right? What country you apply. Because different schools or different countries, right, have different scholarship, financial aid opportunities, requirements. England, although doesn't give a lot of financial aid, England, right, or the UK school system is typically what? 3 years. America, very expensive, 4 years, but what? They give a lot of money, right? So it's different. All I would tell for you, right, admissions, when you apply to college and university, right, and let me dispel some rumors from my faculty and staff. Me as an admissions officer, I accept you without looking at financial aid needs, right? Now, finance, they look at your application and ultimately they decide what they're gonna give you, right? So two different components. The number one thing people look at when they decide your scholarship and financial aid, even though I don't think it judges you, but the truth is they only care about two things: grades and test scores, right? And as much as I do not care, right? Again, I don't like testing. You just got to do it, right? You just got to do it, right? You got to do the basic things, master the basics before you do the sexy things, right? Take care of your IELTS. Take care of your IELTS or TOEFL, right? Take care of your IELTS. Take care of your SAT, right? Because me, if you want scholarship or financial aid, that's what you need to show. Understand? It's important. It's not fun, but you gotta do it. Agreed? All right, thank you for your question. Thank you all.